Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to our investor seminar. Today we have Brandon Barczak and Mitch VanDyke from Prime Pro Mortgage. They have over 23 years of experience in the mortgage industry. And if you have any questions for them, please ask them in a chat box and then we'll address them once their presentation is over. Brandon, would you like to take it away from here?
Yes, I would. Thanks, Anna Paula, for having us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks again for having us. My name is Brandon Barczak. I'm with Lending Pro, and I have my partner, Mitch VanDyke, on as well. As Anna Paula mentioned, we have over 23 years in the business. So glad to be here and just looking to have a conversation about investing. And feel free to ask questions if anybody has them throughout the process or throughout the presentation. I like to be interactive if possible. So once again, this is Mitch and I. We have over 23 years in the business. We're both local. We're located in Chandler, Arizona. And I'm a native to Arizona, so been here my whole life. And Mitch has been here for a long time as well, but originally from New York. So a little bit about us. We came from the banking world, direct lender, had some experience in the independent mortgage banking area, and then also on the broker side. So a lot of experience, as we mentioned on this slide, and throughout the presentation so far. So I'd like to kind of start with just investment programs. So there's a lot of people that maybe you haven't bought an investment property before. Maybe you've bought several. What programs are out there and what are kind of the pros and cons? So I will let everybody kind of read this slide. I'm not going to go bullet point for bullet point, but there's typically two loans out there, and there's some others as well, but I want to kind of keep it basic today. There's two loans. One's going to be a standard conventional loan for an investment property. And there's another one that's pretty popular right now called a DSCR loan. It is a debt service coverage ratio loan, which I'll get into a little bit more. You'll see on the left-hand side, there's some bullet points around the standard conventional loan, and on the right-hand side. Probably the couple differences I want to call out are your standard conventional loan, you're going to go through basically income, asset, credit documentation to qualify for that loan. Okay. There's going to be some variations on market rates. Sometimes they're going to be better than a DSCR loan. Sometimes they're not. But overall, it's a great program. You will have to go through underwriting and have your income, credit, and asset documents reviewed on a conventional loan for an investment property. And some people believe there's a 20% down requirement for an investment property. You can actually have a 15% down payment on an investment property. Okay. So flipping over to the right-hand side, the DSCR loan. This is going to be more of a loan that's qualified based on rent or cash flow. They don't really get into, when I say they, the underwriters, they don't get into your income. They're not going to be reviewing tax returns or pay stubs or W-2s. Okay, this is kind of more of a program that's based on your credit score. And as long as that rent, and there's ways that we figure out what rent is going to be counted. Most of the time it's a rent schedule or rent comparable based upon the appraiser. And there's some data there we can talk through, but they're going to pull some rent comparables. And if that rent equals the mortgage payment for that subject property that you're looking to buy as an investment property, you can probably qualify for a debt service, a DSCR loan, as long as the credit and as long as your assets are in place. Okay. Oftentimes, these programs might have a prepayment penalty. Some of them do not. So I put that in there. There's a 0 prepayment penalty. Usually they go up to 3 years. And based upon what you choose there, the rate differs. So a 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year prepayment penalty, you will have a slightly better rate the higher prepayment penalty you go with. If you have no prepayment penalty, the interest rate might be a little bit higher. Okay. There are some interest-only options on the DSCR, which are pretty beneficial for some investors as well. And I just want to call out on both programs that there's a purchase option, rate term refinance option, and cash out refinance option on these programs for both.
Hey, Brandon, it's Mitch. Can I jump in for just one quick second?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I think another a reason why DSCR is becoming a bit more popular and prevalent on the investor side is it doesn't quite have the same limitations on the number of total properties that you can finance, right? So standard conventional financing, again, which is like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, those types of loans, you're capped at 10 maximum finance properties. DSCR, there's not a cap. Certain lenders might have their own cap for that specific lender, but you can go to different lenders and there's no cap on the amount of DSCR loans that you can have. And it's become quite popular for a lot of, some more of the seasoned investors.
Great call on Mitch. Thank you. I think it moved. How about now?
Yeah, now I can see it.
Okay. Thanks, Mitch. Sorry about that.
Yep.
So I'll kind of pause there for a second so everybody can digest that rent to compare divided by the PITIA, and that is explained there with the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and association dues. So just an example would be if you have a rent comparable that comes in at $2,000 a month, and your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and HOA dues are $2,000 a month. That is a 1% DSCR ratio, which typically allows you to obtain a DSCR loan. And towards the right of my slide, you can see the variations between a 1, a less than 1, and a greater than 1. So maybe your rent is $2,500, but the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is only $2,000. So in that case, quick math, you're going to be about 1.25 on a DSCR ratio, which is good. So what they really want to see, underwriting wants to see at least a 1% ratio, typically, meaning the rent offsets the mortgage payment for the subject property, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and any HOA dues, if there are any. There's cases where if it's less, the rent is less than the PITIA, we can still do a DSCR loan. It most likely will impact your loan to value and your rate, but it's still possible. Just some quick comparison here. And obviously these rates are subject to change. These are based on today's rates. Subject to change throughout the day as well, but these are assuming, as I mentioned at the top, 780 credit score, and a couple other things. But I just want to give a feel to people that conventional and DSCR, they're great loans. Everybody has different situations. I think with the pandemic, that impacted several things. So some people, as Mitch mentioned, the DSCR loan is becoming more popular because things happened during the pandemic where maybe you don't really want to go into documenting your income. Okay. Each program is a little bit different and everybody has their own reasons to choose one or the other. I would recommend to probably talk to a mortgage expert to determine what product might best be fit for you. You can see the numbers on the screen. It's going to be pretty comparable. And once again, these things change. So sometimes the DSCR program might be more attractive than the conventional program from a rate standpoint. Sometimes the conventional will be. But on this example, you're going to see that the lender costs are a little bit lower on the conventional option. Same payment, same rate, just less costs. You're also going to see, as I mentioned earlier, that there's a prepayment penalty on the one on the right, the DSCR, and no prepayment penalty on the conventional standard loan. some common things on why invest in Arizona. You can see a couple bullet points here. I think a lot of people might be aware, obviously, we've had some huge technology sector companies join Arizona. There's been a lot of aerospace, things of that sort that are coming here. So there's a lot of people coming here from a business standpoint. Population's growing, obviously, because of that. There's companies, large corporations coming in. Favorable tax environment. We're probably one of the best states in regards to this state tax income. It's lower compared to a lot of other states like California, let's say. The rental market is fairly strong, and obviously there's different landscapes here, so we're attracting some tourists and things of that sort. Yeah. There's other reasons as well, but just want to kind of call out these items. Mitch, if you don't have anything else to add, I mean, I'm basically at a point where there's questions. If anybody has questions, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And if not, Anupama, this is our information in case anybody wants to reach out to us after.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Brandon and Mitch, for the information. And now I know you have a lot of questions. I got the property. Now how I'm going to manage it. So to answer all that questions, we have property manager with us, Suzette, with TCT Property Management Service. She has been in the property management field over 30 years. And she also has like 10 properties herself. So she knows how it feels like a landlord. So let's see what she has to offer as a property manager. Suzette.
Thank you, Anupama. And yes, I am with TCT Property Management Services. The company itself has also been in business over 30 years, and I myself have over 30 years of experience in property management. And I say that because it's important. You have a large investment, and and some of you, this is new. And so when you've got such a large, valuable investment, it's important to have somebody who knows what they're doing take care of this property, both property itself and protecting you legally. Property management is one of the most litigious sections of real estate here in Arizona. And it's probably because we have so many rental properties here, and there are a lot of laws in regards to property management. And some people say, well, it's just, once you get the tenants in there, that's kind of hard, but maybe I'll have my real estate agent do it, and then I'll just collect the rent, call a handyman when needed. What's so hard about that? Well, I always tell people, you don't need a property manager, you don't think, until you do. And most people do at some point. There's typically an event that happens that costs thousands of dollars that could have been avoided. As far as the laws, I'll go back to that. State of Arizona requires everybody to know all of these statutes and the Landlord Tenant Act of Arizona. Just because you don't have a real estate license doesn't mean you're not responsible for knowing that. And that's the way the state feels. So each and every statute, as well as the Arizona Landlord Tenant Act, you are responsible as the homeowner. And then I guess the landlord, if you're taking care of it yourself, you're responsible to know all of those, and you will be held liable for those if you were ever presented in court for any issues that violate that. And tenants are pretty savvy these days. They either know kind of how to skirt around some of these things and play the system, or they know somebody who does. And many tenant advocacy groups out there are really good at trying to get the bad landlord. Somehow people who own investment real estate are seen as these bad guys, and it's crazy. But our job is to protect you as the owner It's also to provide good customer service for your tenant. Again, it's our responsibility as real estate agents. We are all realtors, which is required by the state. And so it to me, if you have a large investment, it should be handled by a professional. If you are a real estate investor, which this is what this meeting is for, then consider this your business. And so, yes, getting a good, solid mortgage, like Brandon was talking about, getting it set up for you financially, having a management company come in and take care of finding a quality tenant. We handle things like credit reports, criminal background checks, eviction checks, those types of comprehensive reports that not everybody can get. You have to be set up for that and qualified for that. It's important to vet these people carefully before they move in. We do things like inspect the property before the tenants move in, document it very carefully, which is important because when they move out, invariably, these tenants never do anything. It's not them. It was that way before they moved in. Hear that all the time. So we document the condition. Very, very important. And then during the tenancy, we manage the expectations and the requests of the tenant. We handle maintenance in a different way than what an owner would handle it. Our vendors know to let us know if anything looks, suspicious in the property. We have eyes in the property that way at all times with our vendors. They've been trained for that. And we also determine why. Why isn't a garbage disposal working? Yes, plumbing is a requirement. It has to be taken care of by the owner. However, if there's a reason that garbage disposal is not working because they put chicken bones down it, for example, then we charge the tenant for that. And many owners don't know to do that. Many owners, it's hard for them to be kind of, not the bad guy, but kind of strict with the tenants. The tenants play on their heartstrings and they give in just about every time. So where when you've got a property management company, we are the shield between you and the tenants. We protect the tenants. Don't have your contact information. We handle everything according to the laws of Arizona. And I can put my information in the chat box. And if you're interested in any of our services, the fees, things that we charge, then I am happy to go over that with you and help you get started in your real estate investing business. And that's in a nutshell.
Thanks, Suzette. So a lot of times people do have a question about what is the tax privilege?
Transaction privilege tax in Arizona is a tax that is required to be charged to the tenant. It used to be where if an owner had only one investment property, they didn't have to charge that tax and be responsible for getting it paid and filed and all of that with the Department of Revenue. That is no longer the case. It doesn't matter if you only have one property or 10 properties, whether you manage it yourself or not, that has to be charged, filed. You have to get a tax license, everything set up with the Department of Revenue. And that can be kind of tricky. So we do help our owners get all of that taken care of, set up, and they're following the law that way as well.
So you do set up everything for the tenant, for the landlord. They don't have to do anything.
We can't set it up for them legally. Again, they've changed the rules on that too. We walk through it, walk them through it step by step, help them get it set up. We obviously, you have to know what the percentage rate is for each city, which they're all different. So you need to have that in your lease as well. I've seen many leases come across, again, real estate agents, they don't know property management as well because it's a different field. They shouldn't have to know it. So oftentimes I don't even see a tax in the lease, which means the owner then has to pay it, the entire tax all year long. So you've got to be really careful when you're writing your leases. So again, that's part of our service. We write the lease. So we have a very comprehensive protective lease for our owners. So you have to know the tax rate in each city, make sure that's put in the lease. And so you're protected and the tenant then pays that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the craziest thing you had to deal with being in property management?
Oh, goodness. a lot of time, I tell you, there's all kinds of people out there. So and again, they don't seem to think that they have to follow any rules. So we've got people who've had 10 dogs in a property. We again discovered by one of our vendors. We've had issues with dogs biting other people. I've had one death in a property. A tenant passed away. That was kind of crazy having to deal with that. It's tenants. We've had many threats of lawsuits, but again, we're well documented and we've forwarded every single one of those. So you get people, money makes people do crazy things. And if they've moved out and damaged the property quite a bit, then the threats come per se. I've had people say that there's ghosts, that properties have been haunted. I mean, there's been lots of things in 30 years, but it's never a dull moment. That's for sure. If there's any others, or otherwise, like I say, I'll put my information in the chat box, and you can feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to go over everything with you. Any questions also that you have personally about your own property or properties you're thinking about buying, we do rental comps for you. Sometimes people have two properties they're trying to decide between, and then we guide them as far as rental comps and kind of our opinion, what we think, which one maybe works out better as a rental.
Thanks, Suzette. We'll definitely share your information. And Brandon and Mitch, thank you again. And we'll share your information as well. And hopefully we'll see you next time. We have these seminars now every month. So it will be some different topics and more questions. So thank you for your time and enjoy your Tuesday.